When you have a severe down cycle, when investors are euphoric, you're looking at massive wealth destruction. Okay, looking at massive wealth destruction that's going to play out for investors when a down cycle comes. And also, markets have an impact on growth. So, Bharat, now let us turn the roles now. Actually, thank you for your article in this week's edition. I got a lot of positive feedback. In fact, one feedback says it was an eye opener. Your article on health insurance, right? Nice of you to share your personal experience with our readers. We wanted it because we felt readers can benefit from it, and it really was an eye opener. So, only after reading your article, some of our readers who replied back to us, they're pointing out that there are so many leaks in a health insurance policy. We all sign up for the policy without looking at details. Like, I'll tell you how my health insurance recently got renewed, right? I get a call and they say it is the same term as before. And then you say okay and you renew it over the phone. But then when you go in, there is always some term which is different, but it can be justified by the way the conversation flowed actually. So we have a challenge in our health insurance policies where too much of fine print, there is always some ambiguity, and when the rubber hits the road, as your article was titled, you realize the challenges that you will have to face, although you have a good policy. So can you tell me one of the things that really struck you hard when you realized, when you are confident that you had a health insurance policy, but then you realize that the fine print denies you what you're actually entitled for?
So first off, thank you for the opportunity to write, because it was your idea, and I was skeptical, saying, how many people would be interested in my personal experience, and you stand vindicated with your perseverance, saying I have to do this. I think this conversation has been going on for several months. So to answer your question, the fine print always gets you. There's no way where all of us will be aware of 100% of the fine print. That's my view after this experience. Where it was hit hard is, especially when a serious illness strikes a family member, there are two kinds of trauma already that you're facing. One is the emotional trauma and the other is a financial trauma.
Yeah.
And to add to it, you're not an expert in insurance. So, and as I'm saying this, I'm getting goosebumps right now, because you go in, whatever they ask you to fill some forms, your mind is not on it. It's on the family member, making sure that they're getting all right, and making sure you're arranging for your finances, and this is one way of doing it. And then they say, no, not possible. Okay. Because for instance, the fine print, this truly was the fine print, because I went back and checked the original email that we received from the insurance company. Very small font, it was told, we were told that immunotherapy and monoclonal therapy is eligible only for a minuscule portion, if my memory serves me right, within less than 5% of the sum assured is what you're eligible to get from the insurance.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What you said, right, I haven't heard of it till I read your article or I spoke.
You also have subscribed to the same.
And we all subscribe to policies without even knowing this. Sure. It's quite unfair, right, the way.
In a way. So I would look at it two ways. One is the business of insurance has to be a profitable venture. So that's probably why they take care to protect their interests. But the counter to your point is, if I had noticed it, what would I have done? You think I would have walked away from the insurance? I would have said, okay, now I know. That's the only reference. And I would have said, yes. Let me go ahead and sign for it, because like I said in the article, serious illnesses are never, around the corner for you. It's always about others. Somebody else gets it, we've never faced it. Only when it hits you, you say, oh my God. And, my aunt stands vindicated in this context, because 2 years prior to our experience, she said, there's a policy that came my way. I'm too old for it anyway. I don't think I should take insurance, but this specifically for cancer. And I think there are other policies specific to cardiac issues. In hindsight, I would probably go in for those where I see a prevalence of such diseases.
Okay.
Of course, which means I also have to know about the fine print, which says, for certain kinds of diagnosis or conditions or diseases, you will not be paid so much.
Okay.
Right? In which case I'd go for these. And like I said in the article, family member who's a doctor in the UK practicing, And she's a specialist only to do with breast oncology. She says earlier the thumb rule is 1 in 5 people get cancers, and
Okay.
I won't be surprised if we soon come to a point in time where it'll be 1 in 2.
Okay.
Which means anybody could be impacted at any point in time. So I would probably take a cover an insurance policy specific to cancer and or cardiac, depending on your needs, and so that you're not surprised. So everything, or at least much of your sum assured, is something that you can draw back.
Okay. So you're saying beyond existing insurance, we need to take extra for serious ailments.
I would.
Because your experience was that when a family member of yours had a serious ailment, there was a limit for that serious ailment.
Yes.
Although you might have had a 10 lakh policy, 20 lakh policy, or 30 lakh policy, and we all have these kind of
Yes, in fact,
restrictions.
the last amount that you mentioned was covered across 2 policies I happen to have. And I always believe if you're not in a certain workplace consistently for 20, 30 years, and if you change workplace, the insurance policy you're eligible for in a particular workplace may not be fungible with another employer. You may not be
Okay.
able to carry your policy around. So thank God, for very different reasons, I took another policy. And I was able to somewhat recoup, like 1/3 of my total expenses were recouped because of both these policies put together.
So you could
Imagine.
recoup 1/3 of a very high amount.
Very high
Still
amount.
a significant
That's
amount
why-
when it comes to what you could recoup actually.
Yes.
So this apart, the other thing I found very eye-opening was you're talking about the role of the agent actually. See, we live in an online world where we do everything online. We are cutting middlemen across most of our transactions. It might work. Let's say if it is e-commerce, like buying goods or using a Swiggy, yeah, maybe you're kind of you could be saving some cost if you're buying from Amazon. But looks like for insurance, if you have an agent, it's better to have a knowledgeable agent and retain that relationship because they can be of help, right?
Absolutely. And bear with the slightly longish answer here. This again came from a very painful experience much earlier on, and we had space constraints, and I wouldn't have been able to dwell on this point in the article. About 20 years prior, my mother underwent a surgery for which we had insurance, and significant coverage was obtained for us, and we were very grateful. But at that point in time, the treating doctor made an error in her certificate, saying my mother had diabetes. At that point, she didn't. And it went right into the records of the insurance company because the communication was between the insurance company and the hospital.
Okay.
And when I discovered it, I said, that's not true. Insurance company says, no, I can't erase that. What's gone into our records is gone.
Okay.
So I tried my best. I moved heaven and earth, got a certificate from the doctor saying it was an erroneous prescription. That was not the case. The insurance company refused to budge.
Okay.
And young blood that I was, I walked off in a huff saying, this is unfair to me, so I'm not going to do business with you. And I yanked the plug off it. And very shortly thereafter, my mother turned a senior citizen. And at that point, very few insurance companies were offering insurance cover for senior citizens.
Okay.
And the option that I took later, had I stayed with this company, things would have been far smoother for my mom. But I had to change because I was hot-blooded and said, I'm not going to do business with this company. Far less benign conditions were applied for future insurance policies for my mom. So from that experience, I realized, look, I don't know insurance well enough.
Okay.
Right? We're all very good in some areas of our work, but we need advice wherever else. So while it is tempting to go, do this online, finish your renewal or your new insurance purchase within 5-10 minutes, I needed advice is something I recognized very early on in life. Again, because of an error, a mistake I made and a painful experience. That's when I decided I need to go with an insurance agent.
Okay.
Fortunately, we found a very knowledgeable one. Not that, I evaluated 10 people and got them. I was just lucky. And 4 years ago, when we bought a car, the dealer was very perseverant, saying, you have to take insurance from us because it means business to him. They are doing their job. And I was pushing back nobody's business. No, because this is a senior citizen, almost like a family member, a friend. I'm not going to walk away from him. For 10 years now, he's been doing my motor and health insurance.
Okay.
So a well-placed sense of loyalty sort of protected me because I wanted to stay with this gentleman who's been so good to us. And guess what? He was the one who sort of guided me at the fag end of the insurance claims process because, after all those, reimbursements and expense claims, some 2.5 lakhs were due to me. and the insurance company refused us.
Okay.
And I was at the end of my tether. I did not have the energy.
You were ready to give it up,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
it's all right,
exhausted.
whatever. Like, I'm a believer, so I said it's God's will.
Ah.
And when the insurance agent heard that, he said, no, you cannot do this. And he literally dragged me to the insurance office. He set up an appointment for us. He said, the problem that you're saying is that in January 2024, a claim was made for reimbursement, not while we were in hospital because of some confusion about the documents. So we paid out of pocket, came out and applied for reimbursement. From Jan 2024 to May 2024, there was no communication, despite repeated requests from our side, no communication from the insurance company. Meanwhile, we had to have multiple visits to the hospital for continuing treatment,
Okay.
for which we had applied cashless, and before we were discharged for every treatment, the insurance company used to settle cashless, partially, never fully, but that's the nature of the beast. So because of which my base policy was exhausted in that time.
The base policy was exhausted with your subsequent claims,
Yes.
but not the original claim.
Exactly. So, but the original claim was still outstanding, and there was nothing at all. So when the agent took me to the insurance company, they said, the third-party administrator was called and we had a meeting and all that. So the TPA said, not eligible. I said, why? And then they said, this is a claim for reimbursement. You can't do that on a top-up policy. You can do it only on a base policy. At that point too, I said, okay, whatever you say, you know the rules. I know nothing about insurance. I'm ready to walk out, go back to my office to work. And then the insurance agent said, no. Had you settled this in January or February of 2024, the subsequent claims that would have been made for other admissions into hospital would have kicked in the top-up. And you would have been able to pay the entire amount.
Okay.
I said, oh, that didn't strike me. I was not aware. I was not in a great frame of mind to think. And the insurance company said, yes, it is our mistake.
Okay.
Ideally, in a very ideal world, the insurance company must have been empathetic and said, we will do
Immediately,
this.
it should have been seamless for you, but you had to
It's
fight
intuitive,
for it.
right? It wasn't for me till I heard it, but for the insurance company, it should have been. They wanted to probably get away with what they could, and I felt that was unfair. And that's where the personal insurance agent helped a lot. I would discourage everybody, as much as I love the online business, and I know it makes life easier for us, but in areas where the future claim, in this instance, you probably make a claim, hopefully never, but if you have to, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you don't remember the details of what needs to be done. So somebody who's in the know, can handhold you, is invaluable.
So, viewers, lots of valuable lessons. Like they say, a smart person learns from his or her painful experience. A smarter person learns from other people's painful experience. The whole purpose of this article was to kind of bring to light the issues that anyone can have in their insurance. Hopefully no one gets to use it, but anyone might have to come to use it at some point of time in their life. If that situation ever arises, you need to be ready, because as it is, you will be going through an emotional turmoil. Bharat's well-written article is all about trying to save anyone else from the pain that he and his family members had to go through. So if you've not read the article yet, please visit thehindubusinessline.com/portfolio and check out the article on health insurance by Bharat Kumar. And we do hope everyone takes a step forward. The companies, yes, you have your profits, but also keep customers' emotional state of mind. Try to process claims better. IRDA, if you are listening, please, there are lots more reforms are required in the health insurance space. Thank you. Thanks, Bharat.
So, thank you.